ATP. Oh, what a get by Zane. Howells is there. Will Howells trying to finish. Still alive. Oh, what unbelievable play here in Central Park.
Major League Pickleball New York City is a wrap. And how about this venue, guys? This is gorgeous. Central Park Pickleball. Love to see that. Looked great on stream. We're going to take a look at the updated standings. We'll look at some player stats. And if there's time at the end, we're going to do a little bit of a listener mailbag. We've got some hot takes to dissect, so let's get after it. First things first, these were the standings entering the week. We had 6 teams in attendance: the New Jersey Fives, the New York Hustlers, DC Pickleball Team, Carolina Pickleball Club, Columbus Sliders, and the Utah Black Diamonds. Now, Columbus and Utah, not really in the playoff picture. Carolina, fringe at best. Now, last week, I had Anna Bright on the show. We did a little MLP preview, and we both agreed that the New York Hustlers, of these 6 teams currently in the playoff, probably the one most prone to upsets. As you can see right now, that gap between 6th and 7th place is massive, so Carolina would be looking to close that gap however they could. Let's see if they did it. And to start things off, a very important match. This is the New York Hustlers, the hometown team, mind you, against Carolina Pickleball Club. If Carolina can get a regulation win here, this would have been massive, swinging 3 points in their favor while New York gets nothing, closing that gap. However, it ended up being a pretty predictable result, with Ben going 2-0 and New York winning in a dream breaker.
But if you're Ben Johns and you go out there, you win both your men's doubles and your mixed doubles, and then you have a very, very successful record against Jack Sock, who's a phenomenal singles player. It's like, what more can you do in this situation?
Carolina would follow that up with a regulation loss to the DC Pickleball Team. And then in a little bit of an upset, the Utah Black Diamonds would win in regulation against the New York Hustlers. So if you're looking for playoff drama, a bit of a mixed bag on the first day. You probably would have liked to see Carolina get that win. But New York dropping a match to the last place team, that's something. Columbus had Jaume Martinez-Vic subbing in for the injured Jay DeVilliers. They did get a win against Utah Black Diamonds. That match doesn't really matter for any standings, but, you know, it's good for morale, I guess. DC dropped one in regulation to New York. Carolina picked up a crucial regulation win over the last place Utah Black Diamonds, and the New Jersey Fives got a 3-1 win over Columbus. Saturday started off with a pair of dream breakers, with DC defeating Utah and New Jersey defeating Carolina before a couple of 4-0 sweeps. Carolina sweeping Columbus and New Jersey sweeping New York. On Sunday, we started off with a pair of sweeps: DC over Columbus, New Jersey over Utah. Then we had a dream breaker with the Hustlers dropping one to Columbus. That's not good. That's supposed to be free points for you when you play Columbus. And New York, maybe the team that could fall out. And then we will now dive into our featured match, New Jersey Fives versus DC Pickleball Team. These were the 2 best teams, in my opinion, at this event. Let's see how it went. We start off with women's doubles with Leigh Waters and Mari Humberg off to a lead early. We're going to get an ATP, which is going to get the crowd involved. What do you think of this chant, guys? Let me know what you think here.
As well.
Next rally, Vivian Glasman dink into the net. We've got more chanting.
Happy to be involved, and I mean, they just absolutely love it. They're great.
A few rallies later, the scoreboard keeper is having trouble because people are shouting random numbers at them after another dink into the net.
Yeah, you know, I mean, with this scoring format, you're never down and out.
A speed up into the net. Time to count, baby.
An overdrive here to start. Anna Leigh and
this one is starting to get out of hand. Mari Humberg catches the back line and...
Wow. And there's that backhand flick I was talking about with Mari.
The score is now 18-6. This is an absolute beatdown, and the fans are loving it, I think.
hand for Anna Leigh.
Absolutely.
Anna Leigh Waters with a little 1-2 punch of her own. Shake and bake. Count with me, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was an absolute beatdown. Anna Leigh Waters and Mari Humberg winning 25-8. That is the second largest margin of victory in MLP history, as far as I can tell. And the record was set by them earlier that day against the Utah Black Diamonds when they won 25-7. Up next, we get men's doubles with a very strong DC team looking to get that easy win against the New Jersey Fives men. Although this week, things are a little different. Maybe they were feeding off of the home crowd energy. Maybe since Zane is an accountant, all that counting went straight to his head. But this team played really well this week. Here we're going to get Zane on the backhand counter right down the middle. DC Pickleball team trailing 20-23, and after an extended dink rally, Will hits it with the backhand flick, but Deckel is all over it with the scorpion. And on game point number 2, it would be Will Howes with the 3rd shot and the 5th shot Ernie for the winner. And that obviously puts DC in quite a little bit of a pickle as Leigh Waters coming up to seal the deal. But first, a quick break in the action. Guys, check this out. This is the GM of the Texas Rangers, Ryan DeWidgeon, proposing to his girlfriend, now fiance, on center court, on stream. Love to see it. She says yes. Congrats to the happy couple. Back to the pickle, DC would win the first mixed match, and then Leigh Waters and Will Howes come out to close the deal. But ultimately, this is what happens if Zane is able to steal a win with Mari or with Will. The Fives are just too good. Leigh Waters, too good. So here were the standings for just New York City. You can see New Jersey Fives went 5-0. They got 14 points out of 5 matches. Only went to a Dream Breaker once, which is far from the norm for them. They have relied on the Dream Breaker, and the big reason for that, Zane Navratil stepped it up. He doesn't have to win all of his matches, but him going 6-4 after being 5-19 entering this event, that's massive for them. Perhaps they have leveled up, reached their final form, because if Zane and Will are going to start winning matches, or Zane and Mari can find a few, I mean, it's tough. Carolina found 2 regulation wins and 2 Dream Breaker losses, good for 8 points in the 5 matches. Kind of feels like a missed opportunity for them. They really could have started to put the pressure on New York Hustlers if they could have won that first match. They did manage to close the gap a little bit, as we'll see when we roll these into the full standings. DC Pickleball team also struggled a little bit. James and Deckel were 10-6 entering this event, and they only managed to go 1-4. Certainly not the level we've seen them at before, nor the level we expect them to play at. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Also, speaking of DC, shout out to DC Pickleball team superfan Jake Gelbar, friend of the channel. Just look at this tweet. Look at this day he had. He hopped on a train, took it all the way from Baltimore to New York City, and the DC Pickleball team hooked him up, got him into the VIP suite. You love to see these teams taking care of their fans like this. That's how we grow the game. Major shout out. New York only came away with 6 points in the 5 matches, far below their pace coming into this, and Columbus Sliders, while not mathematically eliminated, are for all effects and purposes going to be eliminated, and the Utah Black Diamonds, let's go ahead and roll this into the full standings, they have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. With 5 matches to go, the best they can do is 28 points, and as you can see, there are already 6 teams with at least 30 points, so you're done. Columbus, the best they can do is 30 points, so if by some miracle New York or DC loses the rest of their matches, technically Columbus could somehow sneak in. It's not going to happen. So, you know what, Columbus? You're done. As we can see here, the New York Hustlers dropped their pace just a little bit, and Carolina picked theirs up, so a little bit closer, but still, if you extrapolate out that New York Hustlers 1.67 points per match, that puts them right around 38 points. Carolina at 20 points with 7 to go. Getting to that 38 number will be tough. That would be 18 points in 7 matches. You probably can't have any regulation losses in there. Probably not going to happen. It really feels like these are probably our 6 teams. Maybe LA or Orlando can get hot, but it's just a lot of ground to make up. And at the top here, New Jersey is the new number 1 team. How about that? 14 points in 5 matches, it's just about as good as it gets. You can take a look here. They are just absolutely red hot. They have actually won 6 matches in a row. They are now tied for the longest win streak with St. Louis, who has also won 6 in a row. And the fact that New Jersey is now winning games in regulation more than relying on those Dream Breakers is absolutely massive and a little scary for all the other teams. We talked about Zane Navratil stepping up his game, but take a look at these players' standings here. Leigh Waters 10-0, Mari Humberg 7-3, Will Howes 9-1. Absolutely dominant showing from the Clowns. Taking a look at some of the other player results here, Ben and Colin were much more engaged this tournament, going 5-0. That is more or less what we expected from them coming into the season. You can't help but wonder if maybe they regret a little bit their poor showings in Salt Lake City. Every point's going to matter for them down the stretch. It could get close, but Sub Jaume Martinez-Vick struggled, going 2-8, including 0-5 in mixed. Women's doubles went more or less chalk, in my opinion. Jackie Kawamoto and Leah Jansen continue to be one of the top teams, and Leigh Waters and Mari Humberg didn't lose. Oh yeah, and talking about these New York City results, I kind of like that this was 6 teams. There was a round robin. Everybody played each other once. So if we want to, you could have declared a winner for this event. Everybody loves declaring a winner for every event. Maybe this is the format going forward. You do round robins at all your events. You can declare a winner. You could even do like a championship match at the end for some extra points or something. I don't know. We're gonna do a whole deep dive on if I were MLP commissioner at a later point, at some point in a future video, because I've got a lot of ideas. And if you've got ideas, let me know in the comments too. Jack Sock continues to struggle, not playing like a first round pick at all. And with how good their women have been, it's got to be a little bit disappointing for them. Moving on here, let's have some fun with charts, and this one is brought to you by the Austin Pickle Ranch. Come check us out if you're in town. 16 indoor courts in North Austin, state-of-the-art facility, including a court that is certified by the Johns Brothers Court Design. They have blessed this court with their own two hands. I don't know what that entirely means, but it's a nice court. I've played on it. Also, check out the link in the description of this video. You can use code BASIL15 and get a little discount on some Austin Pickle Ranch merch. Anyway, back to the chart. A few observations I'd like to throw around. New Jersey is just a better version of New York. They're better in the Dream Breakers. They're better in women's doubles. They're both weaker in men's doubles and have one weak mixed line, but New Jersey just does it better. We've got sad little triangle Utah, who's been eliminated, and Columbus got a Dream Breaker win. No longer a sad little triangle. They are now just a sad little four-sided polygon. Moving on, let's roll the player results from New York City into the season-long player results. Also, keep in mind, we're going to be doing a little bit of strength of schedule work here. I've updated everybody's duper. I won't get too much into the math, but these columns to the far right are showing how is this team performing based on how duper thinks they should be performing over the course of 23 games, and how is this team performing relative to what the average duper team would be expected to do over a 23-game season. Deckelbar and James Ignatowicz struggled this event, so they've fallen in these standings. And of all the teams that are still playing together, CJ Klinger and Jack Sock are the worst men's doubles team in Major League Pickleball. All those teams below them no longer exist in that construction. They're either subs or have been traded. Based on the duper calculations I've got going, that's pretty much exactly where they were expected to perform. Ben and Colin back on track. They were 7-6 entering this event. They win a perfect 5-0. After seeing them win a gold medal last week, ending their 5-month drought, and now improving to 12-6 in MLP, it kind of feels like nature is healing a little bit. The natural order of the universe, at least the pickleball universe, is being restored to some degree. Moving on to women's doubles, without a doubt, Leigh Waters and Mari Humberg are the top team. They were 11-1. They win 5-0. What else can you say? Leah Jansen and Jackie Kawamoto are carrying the New York Hustlers, without a doubt. As bad as their men have been, their women have been equally good. Now we'll take a look at mixed doubles. Again, Leigh Waters at the top with Will Howes, perfect on the week. Alex Truong and Connor Garnett. This is a pairing to keep an eye out for. They're playing a lot of PPAs together. They seem to have something good going here. Utah's not making the playoffs, as we discussed, but still, if you're thinking about planning your roster going forward into next year, you've got to feel pretty good about that pairing. Taking a look at the teams that are below 500, we can see a little bit of improvement from Zane and Mari. And for Carolina, their new women's pairing are 4-7 together, which isn't great, but for what they're trying to do, it probably is good enough to get them some wins. It's just the mixed line with Colin Johns that has been really struggling. He was 1-5 with Coop, and now he is 2-9 with Brooke Buckner. It feels to me like that's more of the issue with this team than the women's doubles line. So now just taking a look at the individual player rankings. Zane Navratil still in last place among permanent Premier League men, but Jack Sock better watch out. After a 9-1 week for Ben Johns, he's starting to climb these standings. Over on the women's side, what else can be said about Leigh Waters? Winning 57% of her points. She's so far ahead of everybody else, it's just not even funny. Here's a quick look at the chart showing game win percentage by player over how much they cost. Leigh Waters in a league of her own. Anna Bright, expensive but also worth it. J.W. Johnson was a steal. We've got our first round bust zone down here, although Riley Newman, we'll talk more about him in a second. Here we've got my post Kansas City power rankings, but after this event, we're going to drop New York Hustlers down to the B tier. This is also what Anna Bright wanted to do last week. Check out that video too if you want to hear what she had to say about everything MLP. And we're going to bump the fives up to the S tier. At this point, the fives are probably the favorites to win it all. We bumped up the Carolina Pickleball Club, who I'm still labeling Seattle just because I'm lazy. And we're going to keep the Black Diamonds and the Sliders in the E tier, which is now officially the eliminated tier. So that's where we are. We will now pivot and have a special guest joining us. We have Ben from Real Clear Stats. All right, Ben, thanks for jumping on here. For those of you who don't know, Ben is the genius, the mastermind behind Real Clear Stats. He has statted out, 500,000 rallies at this point of Major League Pickleball data?
6 million, at least.
6 million? Okay, I was off by a factor of, I don't know. Anyway, you recently did a series where you kind of highlighted some mid-season stats. There were some interesting takeaways. My favorite one was that the Texas Rangers women are both in the top 3 of direct serve impact and the Texas Rangers men are number 1 and number 2 in that metric. Maybe surprised we didn't see Deckel at the very top of that. He seems to be one. Will Howes drew a lot of attention this week.
They are 51st and 53rd out of 56. So maybe not quite getting the direct balance that you would expect. I think they're also probably getting some short returns that are setting up some rallies, giving them a chance to catch the returner in transition on a drive.
Maybe some indirect impact.
Yes, but it's hard to believe that these players at the top of the list aren't also getting that. So it's hard to say that those other players have a better serve, in my opinion.
So are we getting all upset and about nothing? Are we getting all mad about Will Howes serving sidearm for nothing?
I think so, but we all need a boogeyman out there. I think it's helpful. It gives us a story, something to talk about, something to worry about. In 2023, MLP serve error rate was 0.8%. 2024, that's 1.5%. So serve errors have increased by 93% year over year.
And you can't blame that all on Connor Garnett.
No, definitely not. He does have the most serve errors this year so far, unfortunately. We love you, Connor. Returns error rate in 2023, 2.3%. Return error rate in 2024, 2.9%. A 26% increase. It's hard to say that none of that is from some of our ball woes that we've experienced. I think
or
we've
even
seen
the
some
court woes,
tough bounces, or even court woes. Exactly.
So moving on from serves, you've also have some third shot success graphics here. Jackie Kawamoto leading all women, Tyson McGuffin leading all men. That one surprised me a little bit. I don't think of Tyson as like, a third shot drop like Merchant.
Last year he was kind of middle of the pack kind of last year. So new paddle this year. I don't know. It'd be a cool question to ask him. But Jackie was number 1 last year, number 1 this year. That's really impressive. There's something there that's consistent.
You also had speed up net impact, which I guess is your net win percentage on speed ups that you have given players initiating. And I noticed that Will Howes, number 1 for men, and Leigh Waters, number 1 for women. So maybe some compatible pickleball there. They're just going to be super aggressive the whole way.
Would say, they're definitely playing aggressively, but it's one thing to play aggressive. It's another thing to have really effective aggression. Like you see Tina Pisnik there in 5th, she's only speeding up 6 times a game. But her speed ups are effective because you're not really expecting them. So there's this factor of the more you speed up, generally the less margin you're able to get. So it really is impressive, players that are speeding up 10 plus times a game, that they're getting a plus 20% margin.
And then one last stat, and this is kind of your attempt to, I guess, capture just overall player performance and just a quick glance. Attempt at it. Maybe it's
yeah, I gotcha.
And if you guys have questions about any of these stats, by the way, go check out a series of videos that me and Ben collaborated on in the past. We have statted our own games against each other, and we statted.
Yeah, will they be right here, right there?
They'll be somewhere around here. And we also statted out what happens when Jack Monroe, a pro, plays with us. So if you have any questions about how these stats are calculated, that video does a great job explaining them. But anyway, Player Impact Plus, the biggest surprise here to me was that Riley Newman, I have this chart that shows how much a player went for and what their win percentage is. And he's kind of an outlier of not being worth the price. But in Player Impact Plus, entering this event, he was number 2. Is that just him being dragged down maybe by partners who aren't playing well? Is that what we can take away from this stat? If his win percentage is so low, but its player impact is so high?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair way to look at it. Player impact is really just the margin they're adding to the scoreboard. So every time Riley steps on, he's adding a plus 4 point margin to the scoreboard. That's easily wiped out by good play by your opponents or poor play from your partner. Awesome. He's playing well. The stats don't lie. I'm confident of that.
So everybody, make sure to go check out Ben over at Real Clear Stats. You can follow him on Instagram, on Twitter. Check out all the stuff he's got. And this was a great series. So thanks for coming on to chat about it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, man. Yeah. Keep up the good work.
See you around. All right, lastly, we're going to do a quick little listener mailbag. Thanks to everybody who responded to my tweet. Let's dive right in. CJ Klinger is better than Jack Sock. Honestly, you could make a pretty good argument for this. If you take away the cost aspect, I think I'd probably still take Jack Sock over CJ Klinger. But if I could have CJ Klinger for $1,000 or Jack Sock for $550,000, I'm taking CJ Klinger every single day of the week. Hey Shay wants to know, when can we get rid of the 25% rule? Now, I wasn't able to clip any close call replays because they scrubbed those from all the MLP uploads on YouTube, but I touched on this with Anna Bright last week, but I think we have overthought this new out call rule. We have the technology, but I just don't really think that I'm a fan of the way it's being applied. Here's what the PPA is doing. 25% of the ball is over the line. They're calling it in. Even if a player from their angle sees it out, too bad, so sad. Leanne, GM of the Atlanta Bouncers, points out, we didn't have this rule at the ATR MLP MST at BCO. And for those of you new to the channel, that, of course, is the Advil Target Relief Major League Pickleball mid-season tournament at Beer City Open. So why do we need it now? That's a great point. The way that they use this technology at the ATR MLP MST at BCO was pretty awesome. I don't see why we can't just do that. Odoth says, Jame makes me a little gay. He's got a great smile. You got to give it to him. You got to give it to him. Frank, the CEO of Pickleball, wants to know, Will Howes or Leigh Waters for MVP? You got to go with Leigh Waters. It's a fake award. There's no real voting, but we're already seeing fake voter fatigue for Leigh Waters after every single one of these events. Will Howes played great. Maybe you could argue he's more valuable in a return on investment. But if you replaced Will Howes with an average player, or you replace Leigh Waters with an average player, which one would be more impactful? Chris California, my favorite pickleball podcaster west of the Mississippi River, says New York City pizza would have given Gabe Tardio superpowers. I think he's absolutely right here. Gabe Tardio had a slice of pizza in Salt Lake City, which, no offense to people in Utah, but I don't think y'all are really known for your pizza. And all of a sudden, he turned into a pickleball god. So just imagine what would have happened in New York. Jordy says, every team should have one player juggling on the sidelines to make it fair for James Ignatowicz. This is, of course, in reference to a moment that I couldn't find when I was scrubbing for highlights, but he was apparently fiddling with a ball on the sideline. It rolled on the court, and it resulted in a fault being called. Pickleball Universe says, the Fives are the only team with a real fan base. Hey, love them or hate them. That Fives chant, yeah, they were engaged. I think that probably made a difference. Why was this match so much more boring without the Flash and the Ranchers? Well, it's because pickleball needs rivalries. And did I mention that I hate the Dallas Flash? They suck. I hate them. They're the worst. And I hope they lose every game they ever play. Respectfully. No, actually, you know what? Disrespectfully. And that's just about all the time we have today. I'm thinking about giving this show a name, by the way. What do y'all think? Should this show have a name? Right now, it's just like the Maddie Pickles show. That's kind of, I don't know. We can do better. I've got a few ideas, but I want to hear what y'all have to say. So, once again, let me know in the comments. Please like, please subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.